Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ongoing Mastery, Presenting and Speaking, the podcast and the interview. And we have Kristen Donnelly, the amazing, the talented, the brilliant, the hi, Kristen. How are you?
Hi, Kirsten. How are you?
So tell everybody what it is that you are and what you do, and then I'll tell them why you're awesome.
Oh, gosh. I help people treat each other better. And I do that through speaking and teaching and writing, primarily in the spaces of understanding why people are the way they are, and therefore how, if you understand each other better, how you can get along better and have a more harmonious and cohesive human experience.
So why would anybody want a cohesive human experience? Don't we all love absolute chaos and pain? I mean,
Oh my
really?
gosh, yeah. I was the first TEDx I got a chance to do, I was talking about how inclusivity is so important because I mean it is, and then I just kind of like gestured to the world. I was like, well, because division is working so great for all of us. Like
Yeah,
it's
exactly. It's
like
like,
we've tried it this other way of living life as though we are the only thing that matters. So let's try it
yeah.
another way.
Yeah, awesome. So here's the reason why I definitely wanted to have you on. You and I are both part of a group called Innovation Women, which
Mhm.
meets on Fridays and does a combination of speaker coaching, a little therapy, a lot of ranting, a whole lot of just knowledge crossing. And I I'm not the most patient, tolerant person on the planet. I can see patience. I can see it through a telescope most of the time. But I love how you will answer, like, I will be so annoyed by something that just going on and on and on and on and on. And you will be like, hey, let's get to the point. And it's just wonderful and totally clear and gracious and amazing. And please don't get me wrong if you're listening. I love Innovation Women Fridays. I do. I just am not really wired for being in a room of 50 people all doing advice questions at the same time when I haven't had my morning coffee yet. That's all.
Yeah.
So, but it is the best thing, and I'm so glad I joined, and I'm so glad I met you and all these other awesome people. So, when we're talking about speaking, obviously people have a whole bunch of stuff that comes up, and there's always that talk in the beginning about speaker fear and new speakers. Let's talk about experienced speakers. What is
Okay.
your thoughts about the fact that there's a belief out there that once you get to a certain point as a speaker, you stop having nerves?
Um, is my thought to that. So
I
for
love that. Thank you.
me, if you are not nervous, you don't recognize your responsibility in the moment. So the way
Mm.
I always tell it to younger speakers and in the journey, not necessarily in the age, fresher speakers, is that the nerves, what they tell me is that I understand the weight of what I'm about to do, that I'm taking
Mm.
it seriously, that this is not, it could be the silliest thing on the planet, but these people are still giving me their time.
Yeah.
They might not be consenting to giving me their time, but the minute I step on that stage, they give me any attention, they're giving me their time. And that is the most precious thing anyone can give us. It's the most precious, it's the non-renewable resource, right? Like that's the
Hmm.
adage and kind of oversaid, but like sit there and think about that for a minute. Your ideas and the way that you present them and the craft that you have put into doing that is what they're going to pay attention to for the next 10 to 30 minutes to 60 to 90 to however long you do it.
Yeah.
It is your responsibility to honor that gift. And the nerves are to me, a reflection of understanding that.
Nice.
So in a
Okay.
certain way, when you lose the nerves, I ask if you are still connected to the call to be a speaker.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I get that. And this is interesting because most every Friday I go to the Speaker Friend Friday morning shindig, and I've been having a lot of conversation with newer speakers
Right.
and hearing this and kind of going, no, no. It's like, no, it's not that it gets easier. It just doesn't get not stressful or not There's still
I think,
nerves
yeah.
involved,
Oh my gosh, yeah. The process
you
gets
know.
cleaner. It gets more rehearsed.
Hmm.
Like, I don't get as nervous over like the details anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get nervous over my outfit anymore. I don't get nervous over like all the hypotheticals anymore, like I did at the
Hmm.
beginning. Like, well, what if the sound goes wrong? And what if this happens? And that goes away. That goes away.
Yeah.
But like the 30 seconds before you step out there, that never goes away. And I hope it never does.
Yeah, it's interesting because when I did my TEDx, I mean, you know me, I'm very upfront about what I'm thinking and feeling, even to the point of like people going, please stop. And so I was doing the whole, I'm really nervous, I'm really nervous, I'm really nervous. And they were like, oh, okay, it'll be fine. Yes, Angel, thank you. Everyone loves a dog. And so, but like you, I'm a red light on performer. Like as soon as I'm on the dot, as soon as the camera's on, I'm good to go. And I knew that. But I was also just like, oh wow, this is really something. And then I stepped onto it, the camera went on, and I went right into it. And so when it ended, the cameraman, they all cheered, which was awesome. And the cameraman went, you lied to me. And I'm like, I did not lie to you. I told you I was nervous. I didn't tell you I was new.
Yeah.
Okay. I told you I've been
Yeah.
doing this 20 plus years. So it was just interesting. The the connections I've made through Innovation Women has been really helpful because I'm meeting all these other people who have the same journey. And even though
Mm,
you and I have similar backgrounds in some ways and not in others, we both have that same, oh yeah, been there of it. Because after a while, it doesn't matter what your topic is and it doesn't matter
no.
what your audience is. All speakers have a certain commonality of understanding
Oh, yeah.
of the, oh God, I wanted to die when.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, oh my God, I was a youth worker and I was a youth worker for a decade almost.
Hmm.
So almost all of mine come with embarrassing yourself in front of a teenager, um, which are legion. But yeah, I think some of them don't come on stage. Some of them come from that missed opportunity that you didn't quite chase,
Yeah.
or the thing you chased too hard that ended up
Mm.
being wrong for you. The basket you put all those eggs in that ended up having holes. And I will be honest, more of my mortification, like, oh my God, stories come from the business side of speaking than they come from
Hmm.
the performance side of speaking. And which is why it fascinates me. Every single Friday, someone will ask how much to charge. And I just want to
Hmm.
like throw my arms up in the air and be like, no one knows the answer to this question.
Yeah.
No one knows. No one knows it for themselves. No one knows it for anybody else. There is no such thing as a market value for this. There is like, it just is what it is, which is one of the reasons personally, listeners, I have stopped going to NSA events because the National Speakers Association is all about theater and profit. And to an extent where for me, that is stressful. And
Hmm.
for me, that doesn't work. That isn't encouraging. That's discouraging. And
Ah,
so
okay.
conversations about profit are different than to me
Hmm.
are different than conversations about revenue and about earning a living.
Oh.
And so I am not, and so this, I'm a small business owner. I inherit, like my brother and I took over our father's business. I've been in a family small business since I was literally 7.
Hmm.
So I have a different kind of perspective on this because of the way my family and I have talked about profit, loss, revenue, and income forever. So for me, the question is not, does speaking make me a profit as much as does speaking make me a appropriate income? And that's a
Ah,
different
okay.
shift for me
Yeah.
because a profit is unlimited. Profit has no up, profit has no barrier. Profit is limited by capitalism.
Yeah.
Appropriate revenue to live on is limited by your own ethic.
Oh, all right. That's the best quote. I got to put that on a t-shirt. Thank
Like,
you.
so that's the thing I want to ask these
Ding.
people. I'm like, when they're like, what do you charge? I'm like, I have a million questions for you. Do you want to be famous? Do you want to give TEDx's? Are you looking to drive a Rolls Royce? What
Yeah.
is the enough for you here? I don't care about judgmentally, but I price I price in a way that I hope communicates I am more about service than I am about profit margin.
Hmm.
Because if I'm really honest, Kirsten, if we're really like, let's go bog standard honest, no one can afford me when it comes to my experience my wisdom and what I can offer. No
Yep.
one can afford me.
Yep.
So when I hear charge what you're worth, it does my nut. Like I can't even handle that statement.
Yes.
Like you are worth so
Thank
much
you.
more than any monetary value anybody will put on you. I have 3 postgraduate degrees, almost 25 years of speaking experience in over 6 countries.
Mm-hmm.
I charge what I think is appropriate to someone else's budget line so that I can serve as many people as possible.
Yep.
If I charged my worth, I would never book a gig.
Yeah.
Not a single one.
I was talking with a friend of mine. I have a weekly accountability call with another speaker, and he and I, he's used to like every time we get together, I have a little mini rant of the day, and then we talk about our stuff. And I kind of went on a rant about the Tony Robbins model of speaker. And I said, the issue I have is when you're on stage and you smile and there's ching off your teeth, you're not a person and you're not connecting with people. That's not what that is. And I have a real problem with that. And he was like, huh, really? It didn't read for him as a thing, but it absolutely just eats me up because I'm looking at that. And for me, speaking is about connecting with people's humanity, and especially they're giving you not only their time, which is the non-renewable resource, they're giving you their energy and their thoughts and their passion.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a huge responsibility to have.
It's massive. It's massive. I mean, I talk about speaking as a calling because to me it really is. And we use the word calling in the United States, especially to justify paying people less for things a lot, like teaching is a calling. And like it's okay that medical students don't make any money because medicine is a calling and like all that kind of stuff. So I don't mean it that way. I would still like to get paid. Thank you. I have become accustomed to eaing, as I normally say.
Yeah. I would like to pay my rent.
I really appreciate paying my mortgage. Yeah. And everyone has a different alchemy for how they do their pricing. Everybody does. But again, what's the goal? So for me, the call is equally as important as the revenue. And that's my family's mission statement as a family and as a company is to impact lives and create a holistic wealth. And so we do that through manufacturing. We do that through really holistic HR. And then I run my own division that my best friend, honestly, that 2 of my best friends on the planet work in with me, where we take the messaging that my family has had forever, the evidence that we have that in 33 years, we've never performed a layoff. In 33 years, we've never had a product recall, like all of this kind of stuff to prove to companies that you can operate like we do. Like, if you tell me it's not possible, fantastic. Here's my boatload of evidence that it is. Because not only do I have all the evidence from research and data and everything else, I've got 33 years of lived experience. Let me tell you that it does work. You just have to want something different. So in the same way, I have to want, as a speaker, I have to want to impact lives as much as I want to make a living. And those 2 things have to marry. And like the Tony Robbins, the white teeth, the performance, for me, there's like either the make a living is such a higher definition. Or like there's something a little bit wonky because calling to me invokes more service, invokes less performance and more impact. And so that's why I use the word. Because the performance stuff drives me nuts too. I got my teeth whitened before I did my TEDx because that thing's going on all 4 of them actually. Because it's going on YouTube, it's living forever. And like I look sometimes like I'm swallowing corn. So like I drink way too much coffee for me to have a white smile.
I'm drinking coffee right now. So
I have way too much coffee. So like, don't let me say you don't look professional. Like I know I'm in a hoodie right now, but trust me, in my TEDx's, there was Spanx and heels involved. Like I showed up and turned out. And when I speak now, I show up and I'm turned out, but there's a difference in, if you don't know what Kirsten is talking about, there's a difference in the used car salesman vibes, no matter what you look like. But yeah, I also have a problem with that method of speaking, which is a whole lot about yelling and berating people, but that's a completely separate.
Yeah, it's funny because when I was having my conversation about Tony Robbins, I was asked, well, do you watch a lot of his stuff? And I said, to be honest, I don't. I find it, it doesn't really read for me.
Mm-hmm.
And what he said was, well, he really is able to change lives. I'm like, okay, that's great. But the amount of service that you would have to be doing to equal that, like, would
And,
have to be, I mean,
and
making the blind see kind of level of life that just doesn't
yeah,
read for me.
and I hear that a lot. And my thing
Yeah.
is like, I've been a social scientist for a hot minute, and I don't find that people change through being shamed.
Mm.
They change their behavior maybe, but they don't fundamentally change how they see the world or how they move through the world, except with stories and relationships. And so much of his model, which I have watched his stuff, and it's Benny Hinn in with a different God to me.
Hmm.
Joel Osteen with a different God to
Yeah,
me.
exactly.
Um, they're a lot of temporary opinions and behaviors
Yeah, yeah,
more than it is like redirecting lives. And it's showmanship. I'm such a cynic. Like, I get that, but I don't buy that those folks aren't planted.
okay,
Because
fair enough.
so much of your income is derived on making sure that people are changed.
Yeah,
That the like, well, we know Benny Hinn's were planted, so what makes
yeah,
you different? Like,
yeah,
that's I'm enough of a cynic that bothers me.
yeah. So it's funny because, like, I'm a very theatrical person, and I'm very
Oh, me too.
theatrical
Yeah.
in my stuff. And one of my dear speaker friends is Dean, who is he is the Dean, and I will put his link in the show notes. He's amazing, and he's a magician who's also a speaker, and he's vaudevillian. This is a
Oh,
man
okay.
who thinks in title case. Like, that's how he moves through the world. And what's just really funny is that he's got that same sort of vaudevillian energy, and it's gonna kill me that I brought up his first name and not his last. So I'm gonna double check just to make sure. Hanky, there we go. Because I knew I was gonna say it wrong, and I did not want to get it wrong. So Dean Hanky. But the way, like, his vaudevillian, hiya, is so 100% who he is as a person. That's who he is in the dark moments. That's who he is when I call him up and it's just him and me. He's that. So the problem I have with the really stage lights version is I respect the showmanship,
Mm.
but, like, I have to know what's underneath it,
Yeah, that's a better way to say what I was
you know,
stumbling through. Yeah.
is true. Have you ever seen oh, and I'm gonna blank on his name. Australian, played Wolverine.
Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman. Have you ever seen the Hugh Jackman retrospective? My Life, or Hugh the Show, or whatever it's called.
No, I just saw him in Music Man though, like
Oh my
last year, and that
god.
was incredible.
It that is one of the best designed shows I have ever no, it's hands down. It's the best designed stage performance I've ever seen anywhere. And he's fully authentically himself in every single moment. And the the floor design, the air design, the light design, like, all of it is so good that I was watching and I was blown away by the show, but I was also blown away by how careful they were with the journey they were taking the audience on, because you go through a long emotional journey in that show, and they take you to places where you're crying and then you're cheering, and they're very
Mm.
careful about that journey. And I was watching the roller coaster that was happening in me, because after one singer was on, I was sobbing. She was so beautiful, and it was so heart wrenching, and it was just amazing. And then he came out, and it was the exact right amount of lighten it up. And you could tell it was calibrated, like with a fine instrument. That's the level of showmanship that I want to achieve, because it comes from a passionate belief in the audience's journey.
Yeah.
That's the part that I feel like gets lost in some of the "come look at me, I'm a god." It's like, yeah, we know.
Yeah, it's all one volume. Like,
Yeah.
it's a lot of all one volume. Yeah, I am not I am often all one volume or one note. I know that. Like, I'm not for everybody, and my talks aren't for everybody. It's one of the reasons I love doing workshops with my best friend, because we are such different energies. She's really, we're both very funny. Um, and we have really good banter against each other because we've been best friends for 12 years. But she has a much quieter energy. She's an introvert. She is much more calm, like stating the facts kind of thing. And I'm all over the place like a chaos monster. And so I really love doing things with her more than I like doing things apart. It's not always feasible in terms of our lives for that to happen. But the question I ask myself a lot is as I craft my tones of voice, and as obviously as I craft my PowerPoints, is what is the pedagogy of this? How are we pedagogically leading people through this? Where should the activities be? Where should the moments of silence be? Where should all of that do? And how do I do that as one human in 60 minutes? How do we do that as one human or two humans online? Like, that's always the question I'm asking, is pedagogically, does this make sense? Does my argument land? Have I built it well to where it's not overwhelming? Because a lot of what we do, I'll be really honest, is pretty brand new information for people. It's a real different way to look at it.
Yeah.
I mean, like I teach, you come to one of my burnout seminars and I open with the 17th century Puritans. Like, you're not expecting that.
Yeah, exactly. So, that might be a little, there people are like, wait a minute, what?
Excuse me. Yeah. And I'm like, no, go with me. Here we go. But so I have a responsibility intellectually for them to lead them responsibly through the argument.
Yeah.
And that's that is, and when we just published our burnout book, actually our book on the culture of burnout. And that was the argument. That was the question I kept asking to every single editor was, does the argument hang? Is it cogent? Like, does it go? So I don't often remember showmanship, or even better, I forget it in service to the pedagogy. And I forget what the emotional thing can be. I'm so like, well, how can the mental argument happen?
Okay.
It's like, I've been doing my talks on burnout for 8 years. Okay. And I used to do quiet reflection at the end of it. It never occurred to me in the middle that people would need me to pause and for them to process this brand new information I gave them before I gave them even more brand new information.
Oh. And when did you get that message?
Oh, like this year.
Oh, okay. After 8 years.
Like this year. Yeah.
Okay.
Pathetically, it took me this long to figure it out, where it couldn't happen all at the end. Okay. It had to happen throughout it.
I'm going to need you to rephrase that, because it's not pathetic. This is the journey we do.
It's true, but it feels 100%. Very like, oh my God, how did I not realize this? And some of that is because that, like, the strict pedagogy needs to marry the showmanship.
Yes. Okay. There we are. Thank you.
And that's what I can't do all the time very well. That's a still point of growth for me.
Okay. I love it. And I would say that for me, it's probably the reverse, because I know that, like, I can nail the pedagogy as long as I'm not emotionally swept away by where I'm bringing people. So I have to be careful not to go into the emotional journey at the expense of the content.
Oh, interesting. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah.
You know?
Okay. Yeah.
Like I very much, I will throw out entire sections in service to the moment.
Oh, and I don't know what the moment is until it's passed.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. No, I'm always like right on. I'm riding literally right on the cusp of it.
This would be fun for us to do something together. This would be hilarious.
That would be good. I'd love it.
It would be. I think it would be. Yeah. I am so practical.
Yeah, and I'm now a completely well, not completely, because I'm working on it. I'm a very instinctual speaker. So I do a lot of lives where I don't have anything planned, because I honestly want people to see me mess up, because I want them to see a speaker that keeps going even when it's not working.
Fair.
And it's like, I really need my audience to know that, because that's part of my mission. Is like, no, come on. Honestly, nobody's on fire and nobody's bleeding. It's
It's
okay.
okay. Yeah.
But yeah.
And
But
let me, I should
we should
go
do
ahead.
something together. Oh
That would
my
be really
God.
fun.
That'd
Yeah,
be
that would be really
great.
fun. Oh my gosh. Yeah, my thing is I still improv like
Mm-hmm.
sections of stuff.
Yep.
But what I have learned as I stepped into more professionalism, and I need to credit my speaker coach doing this. Her name is Trisha Brook, and she's somebody who people sometimes know. I had the privilege of working with her. And one of the things that she taught me is you can improv all as long as you want inside the sandbox. The problem is when the
Ooh,
sandbox becomes a sand pile and there's no box.
nice.
So like,
Okay.
and that's not her language, that's mine. Like that's what
Mm-hmm.
she taught me to, she might not even love that I said that, but that's what all of her learning taught, all of her teaching taught me was I used to just speak and like wander around the sand pile and like it would be fine. And she taught me to have the box.
Yeah.
And then if in the middle of the talk, all four of my TED Talks, by the way, all four
Mm-hmm.
of them, I messed up from the script.
Mm.
I rewrote sections as I talked. All of my talks since then, with the exception of one because I read it, all of my memorized talks since then, I've rewritten passages in the middle of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I think, if I could pass on one thing to some people also about the nerves, I realized, like back to that question,
Yeah.
is if I have that if I have the box built,
Mm-hmm.
I know that sand, man. I can play anywhere in it and it'll be fine. So I don't
Nice.
worry about the content. I don't worry about saying something wrong because I can't. I know the box.
Yeah.
I know the box. And that was a huge, the thing that helps with for me is the post event letdown
Oh,
of
yeah, the crash.
what did
Yeah.
I say the right thing? Did I
Yeah.
screw up? What did I do wrong? If I stayed in the box, the box is fine. I make sure my scripts for things go through other people.
Yep.
Like if we establish the box, I don't have anything to worry about. The adrenaline crash is a thing and I sleep and I have
Mm-hmm.
snacks and all
Oh,
that kind
yeah.
of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
But except the
Solid.
one time where I didn't have it because I had to get directly on a plane. I did 2 TEDx talks in 5 days. And so
Okay.
that was a lot. That was a pretty big
I'm
crash the
giving you the
next day.
face, going, okay, that was a
Pretty big
choice.
crash. It's a pretty big crash.
Yeah.
But I don't overanalyze to the extent that I used to when
Good.
I would just get up there and do an improv show.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
I will pass that on to new speakers is that the nerves should stay. The post analysis
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have to be as painful as it might be for you right now. There are ways to
Yeah.
make it not as shaming.
Yeah. The crash is going to happen in whatever form it happens for people. It
Yeah.
always happens for folks, no matter what their own version of it. But I love the idea of defining the box, the boundaries of this is what should be the expectations. These are the rules of engagement. And from that, we party.
Yeah.
I love
Whatever.
that.
And then within that, I'm instinctual. I'll
Yep.
crack jokes if I feel it needs to be cracked. I'll hold the silence if I think it needs to. I'll read their faces.
Yep.
But if but I can do the instinct on that. But I used
Okay.
to get up there and just do everything instinctually, and that was not good for
Yep.
me and how I explain things because I couldn't make the argument I was trying to make.
Yeah. Yeah. It's you got to keep the through line going.
Mm-hmm.
Um all right, well, that you've gotten the meat right there, and I'm going to end on that because that's perfect. And I had to look it up just because it was bugging me. So I think the name of the show I'm talking about is actually the Hugh Jackman Tour.
Okay.
Um, if you ever get a chance to see it, he goes through his entire life and he acts out different characters
Oh my gosh.
and he brings in videos of his family. I mean, it is brilliant,
Ooh, okay. Noted.
stunningly good theater design, like the best I've ever seen. I was just in awe.
Okay.
So if you ever get a chance, it's 100% worth it.
Sounds good.
So where can people find you in all the socials, all the places?
So my company is called Abbey Research. It's Abbey, the word
Mhm.
research. And you can find our website at argooddoctors.com. Everything you need, including all of my keynotes, all my TEDx's, all of it is all there on that website, argooddoctors.com.
Fantastic. And What you mentioned a book. Do you
Mhm.
want to just talk about for a quick minute?
Oh gosh, I would be only delighted. Um,
I mean,
so
as long as you're here.
yeah, while I'm here. So Erin and I wrote a book called The Culture of Burnout: Why Your Exhaustion is Not Your Fault. And our contention is that America in particular is a culture of burnout, which means that we are a culture that celebrates burnout, is not actually interested in preventing it or solving it, and is
Hmm.
interested in making it your individual problem so that it's your individual failure when you are burned out.
Ooh.
Instead, we trace how America has decided that your work ethic is tied to your personal morality, why we are the way we are, how we got there, how we started, and then what the heck we do about it.
Oh, holy shit.
So if you'd
I'm gonna I have to buy that book as soon as we're off this call because oh my god, that is so me.
it's
Oh my
available in
god.
both
Kelly's gonna
Kindle and
laugh her
paperback.
ass off when she watches this recording because that's exactly 100%. Okay.
It's me too. It's me too. I had a large mental health rewriting slash breakdown, depending on how honest I'm being on the given day, while we were writing this. And a big
Mm.
part of how we kind of came to this was I did a talk at a festival last year called Belief and Belonging about the Puritans and how the Puritans' legacy to us is that you're only a good person if you work hard. And that's their
Oh.
theological legacy to us that none of us have ever rewritten. We've just codified it into American civic religion of capitalism.
And remind me the name of your book?
The Culture of Burnout: Why Your Exhaustion is Not Your Fault. It's available on Amazon in Kindle and paperback.
There it is. I
It's
see it.
a very pretty cover. I'm very
Oh,
proud
it's
of it.
very, very, yes. All
So,
right. By Kristen Donnelly and Aaron Hinson.
yeah, yeah.
Fantastic. All right. So, everybody's homework, buy the damn book because I'm laughing. I'm just, yeah, that's exactly what, yeah, I struggle with
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
A little bit.
It's one of those. It fell out of our fingers as soon as we started writing it because we were like, oh,
Hmm.
we have a lot of feelings about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. Okay. Well, and now I'm going to wrap it up and I'm going to say to everybody, check her out on the socials, give comments, give feedback. Please like, please subscribe. Please do all the things for all the socials. And we will see you next time. Remember, please, she is a coach. I am a coach. If you want services, you can hire us. We work for money. That's how the world is. Yay. All right. Thank you, everybody. See you next time.